Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. We have three more gigantic games to pick this week against the spread. Of course, brought to you by our buddies over at MyBookie. They've been a fantastic channel sponsor this season. You guys can, of course, check them out at the link in the description below. I'll get to the offer that they're giving all viewers to this channel a little bit later in this episode. I do want to get to these picks in the meantime. And of course, also I have a film room episode coming out tomorrow on the Colts offensive line. If you happen to be watching this on Thursday, just bear in mind, I got film room coming on Friday. Keep an eye out for that. But let's get right to these picks. First off, Philadelphia at New Orleans. Again, man, we have a whole bunch of huge games this week in terms of playoff implications. This one is the first of many. New Orleans is fighting for a playoff bye, fighting for their lives to hold off the Rams. Philadelphia is just trying to fight for control of the division at this point. I don't want to say that they've been the biggest disappointment in the league this year, but they're certainly up there. And they're unfortunately taking on a huge, and by huge, I mean damn near impossible task of beating this juggernaut of a Saints team at home in New Orleans, where they're a great team as it is, but they really take it to another level when they're in New Orleans. I'm actually picking the Saints to cover their 9.5 spread in this game, which I know you look at the Eagles and think, God, it's Carson Wentz, it's Doug Peterson. You don't really feel comfortable spotting 9.5 points to any team against that duo. But man, Drew Brees has been on a roll. That offensive line is the best in the league by a comfortable margin. And even though the Colts have been great, I mean, the Saints offensive line has been that damn good this year that they are that alone in that category of great offensive lines. The defense has obviously played better over the course of the season than they did starting out. Drew Brees is as good as ever. Sean Payton is as good as ever. They have weapons out the wazoo, especially with Mark Ingram since he's been back from suspension the last 5 or 6 weeks. This team is rolling in every conceivable way, whereas Philadelphia has been, I'll just say, they've been downright bad at times this year. It's been very disappointing to watch. So I do think that New Orleans at the end will cover the 9.5. I don't think that, the Eagles are going to get blown out by 20 points. I don't think that they're that category of bad. But I do think that the Saints are going to win by probably 2 touchdowns, maybe a touchdown and a field goal. Either way, it still covers 9.5. They just need to win by 10, and I think they will win by 10. And I think ultimately the Saints are going to kind of reassert themselves in the conversation, if they weren't already leading that conversation as it is, for the best team in the league. Personally, I think they're the best team in the league right now, even over Kansas City and obviously over LA, who they just beat, 2 weeks ago. I think they are number one, and it's a very tough task to go into their house when they are already an elite team and beat them in a stadium that is notoriously hard to play in. So yeah, give me 9.5 for the Saints. It's going to be a bloodbath. Moving on, let's go to Houston at Washington. Two very, very intriguing teams, because Washington they kind of refuse to go away. Every time I expect the most from them, they lose, and every time I expect the worst from them, they win. It's a very, very confusing team this year, which tends to happen when you're talking about a one-dimensional team. One-dimensional meaning they run the ball and play defense. When their defense is playing well and they're able to run the ball, they win. But that's pretty much the only way they can win. So they have some matchups that suit them and some that don't. If they get behind, it's a little bit rough for them, because I don't feel like their passing game can sustain itself without a great running game to complement it. So really, they're going up against a Houston team that is a lot more balanced than them. They can run or throw. They have, in my opinion, a better quarterback. If you gave me the Redskins offensive line at the beginning of the year, I would obviously say that they were way better. But now with the Skins being down 3 of their 5 opening day starters, because Trent Williams was ruled out today, it might even be better in Houston than it is in Washington, believe it or not. It's a very, very rough situation for them injury-wise. I believe also Chris Thompson is out, Jamison Crowder's out, so you have a quarterback that doesn't typically play well from behind or play well in shootouts. He has in the past, but not typically. Being down a whole bunch of protection, being down half of his weapons, like it's a very rough situation for me to project that the Skins win that game, which obviously means that they're gonna win it, because that seems to be what happens every time I count them out this year. Is they come out and they start just whooping ass. But logically, I have to think that Houston is the favorite at 3.5 to cover that. So I know people are going to say, oh, you're a Texans fan, you're just picking them because you're a Texans fan. I'm picking the Texans because it's the logical choice. When you look at the injuries for the Redskins, when you look at how that team is built, it's a very one-dimensional team, and if you can force them out of that dimension, they are vulnerable. Houston has a very good run defense to shut down the one thing that Washington has really been good at this year, which is running the ball. They have a multi-dimensional offense that, even though the Redskins front seven is very good, especially along the defensive line, I think the Texans have the weapons to kind of spread them out, kind of take away the factor of their really aggressive blitzes up the middle. Maybe, I don't want to say go to a dink and dunk play style, but I certainly think that's the kind of passing game that really hurts this Redskins defense. So just logically speaking, in terms of matchups, in terms of injuries, it makes sense to have Houston cover at 3.5. Will that actually happen? It's tough to say, because Washington always plays better in games that they're not supposed to win. So I would not be surprised at all if they cover, and even if they don't win, maybe if they only lose by 1 point or 2 point or a field goal. I could totally see that happening, because that is so Washington this season. But I just logically feel more comfortable picking Houston. Not because I'm a Texans fan, it just makes sense. So I know a lot of you probably won't believe me, but whatever. That's just who I'm picking. Now, moving on to the last game of the week, and this is the biggest game of the year. I think that's indisputable at this point. We have been waiting for months to see this game. So, of course, the week it happens, it gets moved out of Mexico to LA because of field conditions. As for whether or not that's going to have an effect on the game, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, but you can't really predict that. You can't predict how moving a venue is going to affect both teams. If anything, it might actually have a more of an advantage for Kansas City than it would be for LA, because LA, they kind of, I don't want to say they squandered their home advantage for the week, even though they are playing in LA, because they were playing in Colorado Springs, or they were practicing in Colorado Springs. So it kind of threw them off their routine anyway, even though they're still hosting the game. So it's not like they got some sort of huge advantage by moving it back to LA anyway, because it already disrupted their routine. So I don't necessarily think that made a huge difference for either team moving the venue, at least none that I expect to kind of really show up on the scoreboard. To me, when I look at this game, I'm looking at one main thing, and it's, what trio do you like better, or what foursome, I should say, do you like better? Is it Jared Goff, Sean McVay, Todd Gurley, and I guess you could say fivesome, and that wide receiver duo? Or do you like the fivesome of Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt? So you got one group of 5 studs on one side of the field and one group of 5 studs on the other side of the field. This game's going to be all offense, no breaks. So it's going to look like Big 12 football all over again in the NFL. I don't believe that either one of these teams can stop the other team. The over-under, I think as of last Sunday, the first over-under that was put out was like 64, and that was after Kupp tore his ACL, so that was taking the ACL into account. So, I mean, 64, it's huge. It's like the biggest over-under in decades, and it's well-earned. But again, going back to, one group of 5 against the other group of 5, who do you like better? And to me, even though the Chiefs are not favored, the Rams are favored by 3.5. To me, I like the group of 5 of, Mahomes, Reed, Hill, Kelce, and Hunt better than the Goff, McVay, Gurley, Cooks, Woods group of 5. So it's very, very close, and you could easily make an argument either way. I don't fault people at all for betting the over on the Rams for covering this game, because the KC defense obviously is very inconsistent. I 100% believe that. But, this game, it really just comes down to what offense do you believe in to make the most explosive plays at the exact right time that they need to be made. Which coach do you think has more tricks up his sleeve? Which coach do you think is going to be better prepared for the game? And again, this is not faulting the Rams whatsoever. They have absolutely earned their record. They are an elite team. I cannot say that enough. But if you're gambling, you got to gamble on the team you believe in. You got to gamble on the quarterback you believe in. And I believe in Patrick Mahomes. I believe in Andy Reid. I believe in Tyreek Hill. I believe in Travis Kelce. And I believe in Kareem Hunt. So give me Kansas City at 3.5 dogs to not just cover and lose by 1, but actually win this game. I think whether you're betting straight up or you're betting against the spread, you take Kansas City in this game. Again, I know it's very, very nauseating to bet against the Rams, but I bet against them once before this year when I took the Saints a couple weeks ago, and it worked out for me. So I'm going to do it again. I believe in the Chiefs. I believe in Pat. I believe in Andy. They're going to get it done. I am ultra excited for this game. I don't think I've been more excited for a game that hasn't involved the Texans since the playoffs last year. That is how stoked I am for this matchup. It really does feel almost kind of like a Super Bowl preview. I mean, both of them have to get by other teams in their respective conferences, whether you're talking about the Patriots or the Saints or any of the other, old guard favorites, throw the Steelers in there too. They all have to kind of get by them first to get to the Super Bowl, but this really does feel like a Super Bowl. There is that much on the line in this game. So I'm very excited for that. I'm super excited for all the other very high stakes games we got going this week, especially Houston trying to hold on to their division against Washington, New Orleans trying to hold on to, to their lead in playoff seeding against Philadelphia. It's a massive, massive week in the NFL, which means massive, massive betting potential. And again, I want to thank our sponsor, MyBookie, for giving everybody the ability to make some money off of these massive games. Everybody who watches this channel, if you go down to the link in the description below, enter promo code BRETT when you sign up and deposit on MyBookie, and you can get up to a 100% sign-up bonus on deposits of up to $1,000, which is gigantic. And obviously, you do not need to deposit $1,000. That's just what the limit is. You can, bet $5 or $10 or $20 on a game. It really doesn't matter what you bet. Everybody can get that sign-up bonus, so it's really just kind of a free extra for people that want to bet on games and make a little bit of money on the side. Anyway, you might as well do it at MyBookie where you can get that free stuff out of it. So again, thank you to them for sponsoring this video. Thank you to all of you guys who continue to support the channel. I do, as I said earlier, have another Film Room episode coming out tomorrow on the Colts offensive line and the Colts offense in general. Really, really fascinating stuff. Quentin Nelson's been amazing. Andrew Luck has far exceeded not just my expectations, but really anybody's expectations. They're a pretty sneaky team, and I'll get a little bit into that tomorrow. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. Until then, later.